what is reality?
Oh.
And how can we all live in the same reality?
Why? Because it's like a necessary evil to have someone like in your life that is just a heaping pile of toxicity.
Each decision is a fork, right? Left, right, up, down, whichever way you take. How sure can you be that the percentage of reality that you're perceiving is accurate?
Well, that could be. Okay.
Now we're
Reality is
into it, huh?
rejection. That's what. We're talking about with. Oh shit! Should I have said his name or no?
I'll
Okay.
bleep it.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. Well, about this individual. Okay. About this individual, there's nothing wrong, but I know if I said the things that he said, I would have problems sleeping at night.
That's fair.
Not because I'm like worried what other people are coming after. I just know I've been mean to somebody that I've like. I don't know. Like, imagine if like I was like so hypercritical of like Muslim, any race or group.
Yeah.
And if that's what most of my personality or narrative on when I got and I spoke on a microphone, I would be, I would be upset with
wouldn't be able
myself.
to
I
live
wouldn't
with
be okay. I
yourself.
wouldn't handle myself appropriately
I get you.
when I'm alone.
Yeah.
You know, here's a good example.
But quick question. Let me pause you on that, right?
Of course.
I think that there is an assumption being made there, right?
Yeah.
Back to the earlier conversation, right? That we can only experience lives as our own vessel,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. Then is it possible that even that conclusion that you're allowed, let's say, in, that I would not be able to sleep at night is you within your own vessel, and he is not seeing that reality as his vessel is different, right?
Of course.
So yeah. I just
Well,
wanna-
this person, I want to clarify to your listeners. This person is a very in shape person of color. Okay?
yeah, he's hilarious. by the way.
He's pretty funny. He's
I can tell you, I had a friend that watched this thing,
I hate
and
saying
she's
person-
like,
I said
and
something
she's like literally like aghast at what he's saying, and she's saying, but he is beautiful though.
Yeah.
She
Right?
did say that.
She did say that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
A married person.
Like I know this sounds
a
weird. Like,
married person,
Yeah. Objectively, you know.
objectively very happy, not looking to go anywhere, nothing.
I don't, and this is weird. I think physically, like imposing or like it's different from what Andrew Tate has said. If he was like 300 pounds and like had like a neck beard and like man breasts.
Sure. Okay.
So we definitely respect a better physique in men.
Okay.
We just do. Our culture does, especially because there's so much temptation in it. It reads as discipline. It reads as value. It reads as
Absolutely. Well, people who are better groomed and thinner,
Yeah,
are generally make more money at work. There's lots of different things that go into it that aren't specifically tied or rules of being thin. It's just
like you're gonna pick a lawyer over like a paralegal even.
You
right?
think? I don't
I think
know.
so. I don't know.
For
but, like,
law,
most-
as a
most
law
people,
defender.
I know
most
that
people would.
societally, that those are things that
Sex
that
sells,
happen.
right? Sex sells.
Sex sells.
Exactly. So
Sex sells. But yeah, I feel like Tate was able to get away with so much because he was like, he had bad hair, so he shaved off his head. That's a good move.
it was a good call.
Good call.
I can't tell you what he looked like right at this moment. I have no idea what that meant.
Okay,
Looks
but
like.
yeah,
Is he good looking?
I guess so. Not
Like
really.
objectively?
Well, this is actually before you answer that question.
Yeah.
This is perfect for today's topic
Okay.
of Casa thinking, right? Because life is confusing, right? Like there's too many things going on at once, right? Last episode we had Alex Shamil here, and we tried to first start at the beginning, right? What is consciousness, right? Remember, Andy? We asked him that thing, right? And I think before we get to all these conclusions, as I was posting it, we're gonna peel it back a little bit, right? So we did consciousness, and we'll have to do it again because I don't think we're gonna get to the answer on any of these. But what is reality?
Oh,
And how can we all live in the same reality?
so I think he lives on a reality. Well, like we're presented a reality when people speak on podcasts and things like that. And, you know, the best version of yourself is what you do by yourself or whatever is something that I kind of want to live by personally. That's, you know, when you're by yourself, do you watch pornography or do you do push-ups? Do you when you're eating by yourself? Yeah. Are you bettering yourself? And I think that's what a lot of guys like, what's his face, then like Tate, and even like, I don't know, Jordan Peterson a little bit for a lot of young men. But I hate that I would, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
but
continue, please.
And this is coming from somebody's father managing an adult video store. I think porn is very detrimental to men's perspective in connecting and romance and intimacy with the partner. And, you know, people are like, oh, it's fine. Just let people do what they want. And yes, we live in a free country, but that also comes with letting people speak the way they want to speak. Right. And again, private companies will make their mind to that, but then public companies that want mass audiences and things like that will leave him unregulated.
I see.
It's leaving the world up to decide for it, I guess.
But isn't that the joy in it? We get to decide, right?
Yes, we like to think we do.
Okay.
Oh, let's
What do you expand on that? Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the Electoral College, right? Like, you know, Maine doesn't get as many points as, I don't know, California, right?
Sure.
So, I don't know. The guy who runs, Lorne Michaels, gets to judge more about comedy, right, than I do on SNL. Sure. I don't get like funny comics that I could think of on the top of my head that should be on that show and make ratings go, because it's just my perspective. It's my vessel, right?
Right, yeah.
So
your reality.
Yeah. So I think it's what being able to do with what you have in your reality, and your reality could be a chess game or something, or it can be, I like to think of it because I like basketball, game of basketball. You can be down 5 at the half, but in the third quarter, you could be up 10, 15.
Do you think that Tate feels like maybe he's just down 5, right? Because would you argue that...
I was going to say, if you get to be down 5, can't they be?
Because I would argue that...
Down 10?
That if Tate was the only one living in his own reality, but there seem to be plenty of people that are living the reality that Tate is in, right?
Yeah.
Or that our friend is in, right? We saw a willing one right here, and he can't wait to bring us our next one. And I literally cannot wait. Like, this literally, like, I am so entertained because, don't get me wrong, I would not choose to live my life this way. And if it was like a sister of mine or whatever, like, I would probably have an issue, but it's not.
Yeah.
And it seems like this person's living his reality.
Well, what if your sister wanted to be with that person?
Well, I would even say that, you know, that what your sister wanted to do, or you guys having anything to say about it, you don't have anything to say about it.
It's about choice, right?
Yeah, it's all about this.
It's her choice and his choice, and
your choice is affected by what reality you live in, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Maybe she lives in a reality where he's an okay dude.
So what is reality?
What is?
Don't get me wrong. There's no answer to this.
There's no like concrete. Like I can talk like my reality of like this is how it should be. No, I'm not.
But you should, because this is abstract.
This is the thing you can't. This is the thing. To think that you can't. Is I think what a lot of people feel anguish about. That they think that I have a shirt and we're gonna have merch that says nice. Consciousness is ridiculous, right? Because your conscience allows you to live your life in the way that you think it should be lived for yourself. And you're 100% right? But why should Andy live the way that JewAnon lives, right? Like, and even you might be able to come at it from 2 different points. Let's say you're at 2 different starting points for a trail, right? And you want to get to the nearest water source where you can take your feet off. Now, if you're at different points of the trail, there may be different water sources, and you both would be correct in your approach to that because you're living in different parts of the trail, or maybe you're going to the same water source, but from a different approach. So if you say turn left, they would actually have to turn right, and you would never be in agreement. So this is what I mean, right? Like, like there is, when I say earlier that there's really no feeling of life as long as you're living life as yourself, that's kind of what I'm approaching it. But we live in a society, right? So how can we nail down with that perspective what is reality and how we can live together. Because I'd argue we're having a real hard time living in the same reality together as a country.
Well, I feel like you're looking at it a black pill's perspective, if you don't mind.
From
me.
black people's
Yeah,
perspective?
black pill.
Okay,
like,
what's
very
a black
negative.
pill?
Like very like, oh, it's sad. We live in a society. No one gives a fuck about you. This, that, the other. You know. But I know it's very corny. Okay. Yeah, it's a very corny phrase of expression. Okay, it's is that the word or expression? Anyway.
Colloquialism.
Yes, a colloquialism. Thank you. Yeah. Time flies by when you're having fun. Okay. So if you're integrating your reality with other people's and you're doing it in a positive way, whether it's, I don't know, performing stand-up or like
walking on the trail with people and having a conversation.
Exactly.
Along the trail.
Exactly. Linear thinking right now. So that's pretty much it. If that answers your question.
That answers my question. Great. That's a great starting point because Andy already knows where we're going to go. So what if, let's think of our course through life, as kind of like a river, right? Or like river, a treadmill, something that's flowing, right? Because time ticks.
Yeah.
And upon that river trail, there is going to be forks, right? I would argue that perhaps each decision is a fork, right? Left, right, up, down, whichever way you take. We want to go somewhere, right? Whatever, we'll explore what is meeting at another time, right? But we're on a river. Sometimes there are other people, maybe your girlfriend, right? Me and Andy, we're actually flowing upon the same river, together. We are kind of like we came from different places and we're walking the same trail and now we're walking along together. So as far as we understand it, do you see the shore on the right? Yeah, I see the shore on the right. Do you see the shore on the left? Okay, great. Do you see, it's kind of like we can't see each other in the reality. We can only see the reality and describe it to each other. Oh, do you agree on this? Yes, we agree. Oh, we must be in the same trail, in the same whatever. And sometimes us ourselves, like a lot of our miscommunication comes a lot of times where she's looking at it like, oh, no, we have to paddle on the right side of the boat if she's on the right side of the boat. But if I'm on the left side of the boat, I'm like, no, we have to paddle on the left side of the boat. And being aware that we may be experiencing the river that's flowing a little bit different, I think it's a way that we can ensure that we are living the same reality in this scenario where we experience this kind of like following the same trail. And I think
we're all on the same boat.
Well, I wouldn't argue we're on the same boat. I'd argue because we'd be on the same river if we were in the same boat. Yeah. And therein lies the challenge, right? It's a little bit of an abstract complex because this is like endless paths, right? And you don't really know for sure if she's experiencing reality as you are, or if I am.
I don't. That's what communication is, though. That's why people can get like major in it and shit. To kind of connect with other people's reality, which I guess is like not a BS major, but like I always thought it was.
Communication is a great major. What are you talking about?
We're doing it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that why we need other people? Because then we can't perceive reality.
Sometimes, call me evil. Say I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think over communicating or over too much of anything.
Too much of anything
isn't good for you. Yeah. So sometimes you need to like, hey, hey, can you get that? You can be abstract too. Like, hey, can you get that black camera over there? He's like, there's so many black cameras. Or hey, can you get that naked baby Santa right there? Like, you know exactly what it is. I don't need to say any more words.
Right.
So I think it's about being punctual.
But wait,
and also being empathetic.
I'd like to push back a little bit
against reality.
This.
Sorry.
I'd like to push back against communication because you just made, and I know that it's very easy to happen. This is why I like to point it out. You made a conclusion.
I did.
On communication.
I did.
Right? But look at it, just all of a sudden, a stand-up, right? Like you're like, okay, I'd argue that the reason why it doesn't need to be said is because we all understand the context. Oh. So there's less communication needed. So similarly to tribes, right? If you mentioned it earlier in our text, an echo chamber, right? The people on the left can't fathom why the people on the right don't see it because they're like, hey, I don't need to over communicate it. It's clear to everybody. If you have the context, it's similarly on the right, much like a joke, right? You're trying to get the context of why you think the joke is funny to the crowd. So when you say the punchline, they laugh.
You know what? Something I want to tell you. Like I think I've grown a little bit, and just as an adult, because now when people like don't like a joke, I just like. So the next, like I just completely like
keep
skip
going.
over it. I just keep going.
That's the way to do it.
I keep going because I
That's okay,
used to be, and I see like a new open micers who is like, oh, you didn't like that. It's like, actually do your act. I know this sounds terrible. Actually do your act.
Well, I mean,
So yeah.
you skip over or not even just skip over the joke, but that's your opportunity. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a comedian, but isn't that the opportunity then to finesse the joke?
Yes,
and see
you
what
could.
you missed.
You could. You could allow people to react to you. It is completely. People are are allowed to have their reaction, or allowed to have their what could be an awful opinion of you.
And I like to use this example right here as a perfect example of choice. Right, the joke didn't hit.
Yeah.
Arguably didn't hit. Now. And that's why I also say conscious and ridiculous. People can think that, oh, well, it can hit for a variety of reasons. Maybe somebody just died outside. Maybe the crowd is not feeling. I'm using an extreme example, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't deliver it enough. Maybe the joke is not funny. Maybe the joke is offensive, right? There's a myriad of things, and two things can be true at once. I think currently we get so caught up in that. Oh, and I'm so glad that you mentioned growth, because I agree that that's growth. That, people didn't like that joke, so maybe I shouldn't say it because it is because of that. At the conclusion of why, when, if you, and I think that conclusion we can get to a better conclusion if we're self-assured, right? We're aware of somebody else, but, I think this joke's funny. To your point, they might not think it could be a myriad of reasons. I'm going to keep going, and then maybe I refine it, maybe done, but you don't make the conclusion. You're discovering your life for yourself. Yeah. And I think the ability to discover your own life for yourself allows you to understand reality, and then be able to, and if you have that open-mindedness, to kind of be like, oh, there's not even anything wrong with the crowd. There might not even think wrong with the joke. It can just be, then you can live in the same reality with other people that could just be, oh, well, I don't find this joke funny. Maybe this guy's not an asshole. This guy's not trying to offend me. This guy is not a bad comic or whatever. Like the same calculations going on the other end, right? Yeah. Of all choices of how to interpret something.
That's so true. Yeah.
So you have to let people like react to you, and like, I know it sounds weird. Like, I'm not afraid like to bomb anymore. Like, you see comics that are afraid to bomb, and I don't know. The ones that like I've seen like bomb and keep going, I'm like, okay, I can see why you get work. I can see why you are okay. You're not like the super funniest person from that or in general, but I see, because I think most of this is persistence, a survival's game. But there are people that get booked I would never, see on a sketch show or anything like that. But they're just you to be successful in any world, you have to take rejection very well. And I think I don't know if I'm moderately successful at all, because I'm technically an unemployed loser. But I remember getting faced with rejection tons of times in like 7th, 8th grade from not playing on basketball teams, and like, girls thinking I'm just straight up creepy, all that stuff. All that stuff. So I think it prepared me in the adult world to actually like, yes, people are going to say no to you. People are going to not put you on that, showcase in, a gentrified area in Raleigh. Or you're not going to get club spots, but you can at least go into a interview. Mm-hmm. You can at least write something great about yourself in a resume and go through life. Being in your vessel, confident in your vessel, and going to sleep in peace in your vessel.
I agree. Thank you. That's a great answer. So that answers, what is reality? So now we're
reality is rejection. That's what
reality is rejection.
Reality is rejection. You want to know the truth? That's I think that's what it is. Partially.
I'd agree. Reality is partial rejection. Reality just is, right? Like it
is everything.
And you have rejection, successes, right? Uh-huh. So back to living reality together. You were talking about earlier, I think before we were off camera, that, especially with the election, people are like, oh, if you vote this, don't talk to me. I mostly hear it from one side, unfortunately. At least the ones where like, I will not talk to you.
Yeah.
Like And this is the shift about context, right? There are many things that I'm for and many things that I against, right? Falling into a particular community. Remember, like this is the challenge. It can be incredibly painful to want to stay in that community. Think about who's the Rushspringa people, the Mormon.
Rumspringa?
Must be the Amish
No,
people.
Amish.
Yeah.
Amish, right? Like, or even Mormon, right? You step outside the community, you lose.
You realize how
community,
fucking cool it is.
and it's like all the pain that comes from losing the closest people to you, which
Sure.
most people would argue is what most people live their life for. At the end of their life, most people are not thinking about the things they had, but the people that were in it, right? So community is very difficult. So I would just argue, is it possible? And this is back where we get to. We have to consider that there's a possibility that we're compromised, that we're maturing candidates into ourselves, because how can we be sure that we're not just trying to avoid the pain of being excluded by our community as opposed to actually thinking that this reality is just objective and true?
Harrison?
Can you repeat that?
How can we be sure? Let's say you were saying our friend, right?
Yeah. That his reality isn't subjective or true.
Right. And probably not the one where we live, or neither that where friends live. So by us associating with it, or even being, is it more our repulsion of another person's reality that we're for, or is it more, this actually the way to live this different reality is kind of making me question the values that I've been brought under the community that I surround myself with.
Okay.
That didn't make it any easier. I just realized.
I really have something good to add about this, because I don't know if you agree with me or not, but this is a very isolationist perspective of like, not my problem, whatever it is. If you see people dying, starving in the streets, you can look at the world and it's not my problem. I can fuck that person over. It's not my problem. They had money. I took it. They don't have any more money. Fuck it. And you can look at world like that, bleak, perfect, and
I disagree. That's not what I'm saying, by the way.
no. But like how our friend looked at that could be his life, because everyone's trying to get theirs. It's very social Darwinist. The fittest survive and things like that. And if you go through life,
But wait. Is that a
me.
conclusion based on what you're inferring about how that person lives their reality, based on how you lead yours, or could you argue that maybe that's not how he perceives it?
Yeah, he doesn't perceive himself as that.
So
At all.
If he can perceive reality differently, how sure can you be that the perceived reality that you're perceiving is accurate?
Well, that could be. Okay. Here's how I'm trying to frame this. Okay, I'm trying to frame this as narratives. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know this very well because as I'm going. This is comedy wise, or I can go with this through the religious background wise that I came through. Is
whatever is more true to you. Bro,
yeah, whatever. This is I'm just comparing. So this is apples and oranges from thing how
You stop saying it,
fuck!
man.
Sorry. Bleep.
Good job.
Okay.
You did really well.
Edit that.
Flawless.
All right. Anyways, going back to that person's this very red pill perception. Okay, and it's a narrative that's gonna stay just in the area because a lot of, and this is weird. I've been watching like incel documentaries. I've been watching documentaries about incels, and they satirize themselves to the point to where they lose complete self-awareness, and they lose their own reflection and identity and things like that. They feel like they are a vessel outside themselves. They are only truly themselves when they are communicating online in chat rooms.
Okay.
And that is a terrible existence.
According to who?
To me. According to me.
Just confirming.
According
just
to the
confirming.
I don't know. Would you consider that an awful existence?
Hey. Listen, once again, we're trying to figure out what is reality.
But here's
It's a
the
difficult
thing.
question.
I have
According to me.
I think that there's a reason that we watch certain shows like My 600-Pound Life and My 90-Day Fiance or 90 things like that.
Reality
It's
TV.
Yeah, reality TV, because we like to look at that and go, I would never be like that.
Yeah.
I would never. That was so foolish. Why? How could you do that? And then you watch it and you feel real superior because they're living in their reality. and you're living in yours, and you get to judge them from your reality.
Yeah, because let's say I will tell you, I'll give you another reality. I raised in Peru. Everybody's like, yeah, the gringos, which are just the Americans, they don't really care about family all that much. Now, Jewish being an exception, because I think Jewish do culture and family very well.
Overwhelmingly care and overbearingly care.
No, but
so you can identify with that. You live in a similar.
So you live in a different reality.
And I was an only
Protestant,
child as well,
right? Like homes are not a thing in like Peru. Like you don't send your elders away. If anything, the reality of like the parent, because of the economic reality, children stay longer at the parent, right?
We don't do retirement homes. If we get enough money, we put our old people in resorts.
There you go, in Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for example,
America's graveyard.
So for example,
Swampy graveyard. No, that's terrible.
another perspective. They're also very materialistic, right? You see a lot of people here getting married for money, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that person, there's a Hispanic Harrison being like, this fucking guy, how dare he live his life like that, like an American with that excess, right? Like much like we are looking at another friend or whatever, right? And I'm sure a person in Ethiopia can then look at that person being like, whatever. So
where's the line?
where's the line in?
Where's the line? I don't know. I don't want to be like, I don't know where the line is, but I want something interesting to add because American Jews are nothing like. They're more closely, or Israelis are closer to Hispanics than they are to American Jews. I will say
culturally,
culturally.
Listen, like Hispanics know, like Jewish people, and that's why, like, listen, just like Hispanic people band together and they help each other, that's why Jewish people get ahead here, and they're white, so they get super ahead.
Yeah. They don't. Other white people don't ask a lot of questions. It depends on what. It depends on what industry you go into.
They're like, oh, he's
obviously.
Oh, he's white. We can trust him. And he's Jewish.
White.
Excellent.
Oh yeah.
I bet he's real good at
Finance,
numbers.
accounting.
Excellent.
You're a CPA. No need for a W-4. No need for.
No need for a drug test. You're good.
Leibowitz, hire now.
I know. Now the person that cleans the office is, we're gonna drug test them right now.
The janitor's working on Excel spreadsheets. He's like, I didn't tell you my last name.
Pretty much. He's like, I'm a doctor in Peru.
No, but in Israel, when I think actually you're right. It's about when compared to Americans, a lot of them kick their kids out when they're 18 to like join the army, and then after they do the army, they fucking travel. They,
do whatever.
They do whatever.
Yeah, live their lives.
They live their lives.
Right.
So, I don't think America isn't really like supporting the nuclear family. Like our birth rate is so down.
Yeah.
So
if anything, our friend is kind of helping against our aging population.
Yeah. Your friend is helping. It's not my friend. Okay. I mean, we're not friends. I don't just know him like that.
Was there a girl involved? Did he act untowardly?
Yeah,
because, for example, I'll give you a quick example.
No, I'm not. Here's the thing.
I'll give you a quick example.
I barely know him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. Yeah. I'm more friendly with, like, I don't know, Freddie, Adam. I'll start naming names of people that I know.
Well, I'm friends with one of those people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm more of an acquaintance to him because I don't know him, like, at all. I've never had, like, a conversation for over 2 or 3 minutes, and then I watched your content with him, and I'm like, whoa, I kind of want to see more of this, but it's like
you need to watch it, man. It's good.
It's good. We're gonna have him back on. We might do a whole series of shows with him.
I need to come back on with him. I'm so curious. I need to pick his brain.
I got an idea. Why don't we launch? Like, once again, we'll bring in Fold and JewAnon if it gets monetized.
Yes.
At that point, you can
decide. It won't get monetized.
No, but if at that point you decide to part ways or we come with an agreement on percentage, we cross that bridge.
Okay.
But
you be my agent. I like this. I like the roles reversed, to be honest.
Bring it. I'm saying bring it.
And a Hispanic guy too.
Yeah, dude, this is gonna look super good on paper.
We'll spin it out. Also, JewAnon. Yeah. Nice. But I'm saying, let's bring in, and your inaugural episode is you and him.
Yeah. Oh. Yes.
That'd be a good
Yes, I have it.
episode.
I need to do an episode again so that it would, because I tried to talk to him because he was Burmese. He talked about being Burmese, and I know
Burmese?
I have no idea.
He's like part Burmese. He's black and Burmese. So I was like, and I know there's a genocide going on in Burma. It was like over like they don't like Muslims or something.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, the Muslims. I was like, hey, do you hear this genocide going on in Burma? He's like, I don't know what's going on over there. It's like, damn.
He's not that.
He's
Burmese,
not.
though.
He's not that. I don't know if he's like knowledgeable about where he's from.
But
or whatever.
question.
So I was like,
Not
true.
immigrant,
Can
at least.
any American do anything about Burma?
No.
Then why the fuck does it matter?
No,
to
I just
worry
asked
about
him.
it?
I just asked him like, hey, you hear what's going on over there? Like, hey, you know,
Do
he's
you
like,
keep
yeah, my family's out. Thank
Do
God.
you keep
or-
apprised of what's happening in Peru, the political climate?
You should.
This is the way that I view.
Do you like
life.
Bolsonaro in Brazil?
The thing is,
Yeah.
like, I could give two shits because why? First of all, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, my point is not about. I think that I have this saying, and maybe it's been said before. You know, I think, therefore I am, right?
Yeah.
That gets you step one. But I choose, therefore I become. Your choices, your aggregated choices, end up being with the GPS of where you end up in life. Both yourself and economically, everything that you want out of life will be your choices, right? So if you have a way, and we say this, if there's anything that you can do, if there's things that are outside your control and worrying about it's not going to do any help, then it makes no sense to spend any brain power because time is limited on it. Just focus on the choices that you can make as best as you can because there's no right and wrong as long as you're living life as yourself. The only thing that's wrong is if you decide to live your life as somebody else and you fail at it. Yeah, you failed at life. You didn't even try to live like yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So... And so that is my argument.
But people don't know sometimes that they're living a lie. They're not living themselves.
You think so?
It takes a long time for some people.
It takes a long time. I argue most people don't even realize it until the end sometimes.
Oh,
sure.
that's dark.
Yeah. Is it though? Because we were talking about that the other day. Nobody figures out what consciousness is until you die, and does that mean
You
that
keep saying that, by the way.
That's terrifying.
I just said we talked about. Is it terrifying? I think it's kind of beautiful. It's like at this moment, if I figured out what consciousness is, would I die? Or is it when you die, then you just get all the secrets of the universe unlocked to you? Or are you just worm food?
Warm food, I think. But I wanted to add on to the what can you do about Burma thing. You could donate to like some fucking nonprofit or something. I don't know.
And out of that dollar, right?
Yeah.
This is the issue with organizations, right? How much is it actually going to the Burmese people, and how much is it to
Going
to
to
the
the-
administrator that's flying over there, right?
I don't know. This is.
And don't get me wrong, there are things that, and this is the thing, right? If I'm willing to give a thing to Burmese because it's gonna make me feel better, I have to be honest with the fact that I'm doing this because it helps me feel better. The choice that I have is the only one that I have. I have zero effect on what happens to the money that I leave. So that's what I'm saying. The choice is you literally can't make anybody do shit.
Yeah.
And that's why
Well, you can sell things to people. You can like sell. You can't make anyone do it, but you can convince them.
but only if they're convincible. Only if they're,
And And the only way to convince them is to have conversations.
You could obviously, yes, do.
Right. So
But conversations with people who have different ideas than you,
boom.
different realities.
You know, I was talking to him earlier when we were setting up, because this is very weird. Like, if you voted Republican, you can't talk to me anymore. And I'm thinking, like, if you're building a house, like, I hope my whoever's doing my drywall has very bad opinions on Antifa. Like, I hope, yeah, of course they have bad opinions on that. All they do is look at sheetrock all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would want that in a contractor, if that makes sense. Or I'd want that, like, it's weird to have.
Well, why do you care about that in your contract?
I
Why would you
don't-
ever even know?
I don't know, but I wouldn't care as long as they do a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah, word.
You know what I mean? So that's the thing. We live in a free market where we don't care about, and I think that's the thing with cancel culture. Like, we start giving a fuck about, I don't know, what the fast food company thinks. Whoever peddles our poison, which obviously it's poison in the first place, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when they tell us other things too. They care about Gay Pride Month. I'm so sure that Target
don't.
cares about Gay Pride
I
Month.
was
They
talking
care
about-
about selling a bunch of rainbow sweaters.
Community right now. Everybody's searching for community, and it's kind
and
of akin
that's
to
fine.
war
I'm
profiteering.
going to buy the rainbow sweater too because I think it's very pretty, but that's not the point. I don't have this illusion this disillusion that Target cares about me. They
Yeah.
don't care about me.
Oh, absolutely.
They want to sell sweaters.
And you not shopping at Target is not gonna do shit for Target.
And me not shopping at Target is not, Target is going to lose no sleep or money over it.
Yeah.
No, if anything, they'll just cut a few jobs. They'll just
Exactly,
automate.
yeah,
You know,
'cause
like
they're a
in-
giant
in the-
corporation.
It's just progressive Walmart. That's what it is. Walmart doesn't even it doesn't even try to do the pride thing. It was like Walmart. Yes, children made these shoes.
That's
Like,
exactly
Because you know what? The people shopping at Walmart need it. And they don't have the luxury to be, I can
Target.
shop from this person
Yeah.
because I don't like their
That's a
politics.
very good
You know?
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much like, and that's why also the Hispanic people are like, you know, like being lost by, because like I opened up at a work thing, you know, when I was a kid, the things that were really scary is that there were car bombs in the middle of the street. And if there was a car with polarized windows, yeah, they can probably kidnap you and hold you for ransom to your parents. Not even for that much, right? Like, so all of a sudden it's like, okay, and this is the thing about arbitrary lines, right? And when I mentioned reality, if there are gonna be lines being drawn arbitrary, who draws them and who agrees to them, right? Because if they're arbitrary, it's very easy for me to, from one point of view, like, oh, I'll draw it here because it doesn't apply. But I have to consider, am I compromised in this? How am I sure that my reality as objective, because people will get lost in this objectivity thing. They're like objective. And you have to be aware that there's no fucking way to be objective as a human.
We've been compromised ever since we've been born.
Fair.
Okay.
Tell me why.
I'm gonna go at it through the American perspective, the NSA perspective of we've been especially if you have a phone. But yeah, as soon as we wake up, we have a birth certificate, we have all these other Social Security, we have all this documentation of what makes us what individually, and obviously that identity can be stolen. That reality can't. That I don't know if you call it reality. That identity can be stolen. So, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
If lines are drawn arbitrarily,
Yeah.
Who gets to
who
draw?
gets to decide?
Well, then, like, who gets to decide when you're compromised?
No. Who gets to decide? Let's say we can't say offensive shit.
Who gets to say? And we always say they try to do this or they control the media, and then people go the Jews, and then I'm like, cut it out, guys. Like that's
Right.
even if it.
So who's drawing the lines though? Is it the
I mean,
Jews?
it's not all of us. All right, like I know that sounds terrible. Like to say it's not.
So it is the Jews.
I mean, like it's like saying,
Jesus, you gotta try to get us-
these black dudes in the NBA are ruining basketball. It's like, no, they're not. They're making it better. Like, what do you mean?
So, but who's drawing the lines though?
Who's drawing the lines? I don't know who exactly. A lot of people are like, oh, Soros, and Alex Jones could probably name you like 1,000 billionaires or you know.
I don't think
that's
they should be the
a
ones
challenge,
showing-
right? We used to, and that's the purpose of this conversation, right? How can we ensure that we live in the same reality? Because guess what? When we lived in the same reality before we were hyper focused, I'd argue because the internet, social media, we could all agree on reality, common sense, as they used to call it, right? So all of a sudden, and so it makes sense to be governed by laws. It's like, yeah, this kind of makes common sense. I'm sure there were people that, hey, I'm not cool with this, gay people that couldn't marry, right? And most people weren't compelled. They weren't forced into being like, hey, the gay people should have rights. They had friends. They had other people like myself, right? Like I had nothing but gay friends growing up in the scene, right? There's,
In Peru or
no, here in
yeah, were they gay? I got a question to ask you.
No,
Were there
but
gay people in
wait.
Peru? Sorry.
Yes, they're very hidden, right? But no, the question is, so it can be done compelled. And gay marriage used to be illegal, and it was made legal because people agreed that, hey, this is not right. Equality under the law.
Yeah.
Now we are having disagreements about everything from gender rights or whatever. So I'd argue that maybe drawing lines does not apply in this case because we're not living in the same reality. So if one side draws lines, the other side's right. If the other side draws lines, the other side's upset. So in that event, maybe less lines until we all agree and have the discussion to agree on reality. But what I'm seeing is, no, let's not have that discussion. Can you see that the sand is there? It's obvious. And it's like, and these lines being drawn. And that's kind of why I'm like, kind of like pro elongating Twitter, because it's like, let's get the internet, like, let's first be able to talk. And if we have to fight, we may have to fight, like argue. But we need to agree on reality first before we start drawing lines because we're going to tear each other apart otherwise.
Yeah.
Sorry about the rant.
So, and this is very, man, that was a lot to take in, first of all. So, but no, talking about reality. Oh, I want to actually mention this, and I don't think this could be a light conspiracy, but I don't know what you guys think about this.
Yeah.
So
it's perfect, and coming soon to Manly Girly JewAnon. So this is a little preview.
So this is very, very tinfoil hat of me. Okay, tinfoil yarmulke, if you will. But I think everyone's how abortion is being fought over and stuff like that, and I don't know. I'm pretty pro-choice. I mean, I know people around me that have gotten abortions, and I know just having it there, the government shouldn't deter that. Obviously, it's not a good thing to do, but it's not. It's not for the government.
You can understand though it could be a medical necessity, and
it's not for the U.S. government to decide. Okay. You know what I mean?
Fair
it's just
enough.
not.
So you've been hearing a lot about it, though.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about it. I think the reason why it's trying to be superimposed back is honestly not because of God, family, and country, but because of our birth rates are declining so badly statistically. So we're trying to
I think the government's trying. To
yeah, we're trying to build U.S. super soldiers to fight China.
Yeah, and some of them are going to be robots thanks to Elon, baby.
It could be. I don't know. That's very far. I don't think the China thing is right or not. But I think the government is trying to force us.
I'm really enjoying this conspiracy.
Really? Okay.
And,
it's a conspiracy. It's not true. It's probably going to get me losing a job.
Step away from The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Because Harrison, we were actually I'm so happy that you're bringing JewAnon under Manly Girly because now we don't need a conspiracy corner.
Oh, thank you.
Our show. Where we ask conspiracies is JewAnon.
JewAnon conspiracies
because I have
with JewAnon.
One of the episodes, if you're around next week, you should come record it because my brother, he's into conspiracy theories and he's gonna come talk to me.
Oh, you want to hear about conspiracy theories?
What is it? What is that conspiracy that Barack Obama was another Barry Soto? That's an alien. From another planet.
Oh, he goes hard.
I have no idea.
I like the ones where Michelle Obama's transgender. Have you heard of that?
This guy,
that's insane.
Yeah, no.
I don't know about that. I do believe in a couple things, and this is probably why
you don't have to believe it. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. I think the World Economic Forum might make us eat bugs. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
You believe that too?
The thing is I don't know if I believe it. Sure. The thing is this is a thing.
They did it on Colbert Show. They were like, "Ooh, doesn't this look
possible?" Good? Yeah, and this is what the exercise of finding out what reality is. There's we're sentient beings, right?
Yeah.
So there's things that we hope would happen, what we wish.
Yeah.
Right. Then we live in the real world. We're a pattern making machine, right? Like recognizing machine. There's things that we expect, right? We throw the ball up, we expect it to come down. You throw that basketball, you hope that it makes in the rim, but you know that it could go.
Yeah.
Okay, so then after those two things, there's all the possibilities of what's possible. Hitting the rim, somebody shooting a gun at that ball out of nowhere in the bottom. It's not probable, but possible, right? So, and in that is where I think these conspiracies live. Don't get me wrong. There's one that's more probable. There's what I hope. But then all the other things.
It's a really small percent chance. And that's what I want to present. This could be a percent chance. Yeah. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's reality. Yeah. I'm not saying I 100% believe
reality is
it.
a suggestion, baby,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing with conspiracy theories. I don't want it to be fired. When you act on those conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? Choice, baby.
That's right.
100%. And that's the thing. I think it doesn't matter. I think you're allowed to be a racist. In your thoughts.
Unfortunately,
I don't think you're allowed.
It is absolutely unfortunate that people are allowed to be racist. But
I got a great story. Yeah, I got a great story. I want to add on.
But wait. Let me before you go to that story. I don't want the last thing that I said to that was I think you're allowed to be racist.
No, I'm not going to say the
without context. Is that what choices you do based on that? That is what. I have an issue with. So go on.
Yeah. There was an electrician my family hired one time, and there was a guy painter. He was a person of color. He was a black guy painting. And this electrician was so racist, he would not go in our house because there was a person of color. I won't even work if I was there. And I was like, oh, my gosh. This dude was from Roxborough, North Carolina.
What the hell is with everybody saying that word to you? Like the person
I was going to say, is that
with
a
play
thing
basketball?
I don't think nobody's ever said that.
People can
N-word.
open up to you.
People say
That's
the
been a
N-word
white
here a
person.
lot.
they?
Okay,
Well,
they
black-
do. They do. A lot of because you know what, it's very free. I can say, and they don't think it's from a hateful place, or if it is, they're allowed to say it, and that's.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But like
White
those, I
people?
know this sounds weird, but those people aren't in our. They aren't in positions of power.
But
They aren't.
I'll make this argument for you. They are allowed to say it.
They are, of course.
Now, you're also allowed to not want to associate with this fucking person and be anywhere near them and not hire them and not hire for you. But in America, they're allowed to think it. They're allowed to say it.
and they can still make a living.
And they can still make a living.
Yeah.
100%. Because guess what? It's a bell curve.
This should be NPR.
Yeah. It's a bell curve. You're going to have, like, once again, people are like, oh, why does this happen? Because it has to land on somebody.
Yeah.
Like, there is going to be a normal distribution.
There's got to be some hate or some satire, self-unaware person that says that, and they're not. They're like like I said, they're groundskeepers.
That's the price of
something like
freedom.
that.
That's the price of freedom. Where
Yeah.
else? What other country? And like I've been to a few, but I came from one that isn't. Can you actually say whatever the fuck you want, and it'd be illegal for somebody to hate you?
Yes, but you cannot excel in like a private in the corporate world, the
Agreed.
academic world.
I just mean as a human's right to breathe. Where else can they do it? If
Now,
not?
liberty, in case you've forgotten, is the soul's right to breathe. I mean, it cannot take a long breath. Laws are girded too tight. Without liberty, man is a single.
Oh, that is a good question. And that was the first thing. That was the first thing. Those guys, a bunch of white landowning. Were they Protestant? I don't care. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
that came to America?
Yeah, that owned
They
slaves.
were not Protestants. They were,
Pagans?
no, I don't remember, pilgrims, but
Pilgrims,
there's something
yeah.
else.
Yeah, I don't know what like religion it was exactly.
Mennonites or whatever?
No, they
They
might have been
came here for
Protestant.
religious freedom.
Yeah.
I don't think they were
Maybe
Catholic.
Protestants.
They weren't
They were.
Catholic.
They
were
weren't
Protestant.
Catholics because they came here because they didn't like the Catholic Church.
Yeah, it was Protestant actually. So they were all white landowning Protestants.
Mm-hmm.
Men were like, all right, we're able to say whatever we want. And then second, we got guns. And third, I think is like troops can't stay with you.
Troops can't stay. With
Yeah, I think that's the third.
Well, the first, like, isn't.
But
But
the first two are the ones we really give a shit about.
Yeah.
Or like, small town America does. Or whoever, working class, the middle class American stereotype. I can say whatever I want and I love my guns.
Oh, that the government can't,
Yeah.
force
I'd say
soldiers
they
to stay
interpret
with
that
you,
as
yeah.
freedom because
They do.
being able to say whatever they want and defending their right to say whatever
Yeah.
they want to them is them allowing to their own.
Yell the N-words at an Arby's parking lot. Yes.
Let's hope
It
not.
is.
Yeah. And once again, I'm not excusing their
know.
behavior
course.
because under my bias in programming, that is not acceptable
Yeah.
for people that I associate with. But under my bias as well, people have the freedom to say, because otherwise, there we're drawing arbitrary lines,
Yeah.
right? Like, who draws the line? Because it's very, and once again, does it make us feel good or does it do something? Because drawing that line against that word does nothing for the brutalization of that race within our country.
Amendments are your rights, but I think law and like the idea of jail is supposed to keep us intact and line in that structure. So I don't know if I'm a complete anarchist or whatever, but I think, and plus prison and rehabilitation, the prison industrial complex is a nightmare and things like that. So where am I going on to this? What I'm going on to this is that like the prison or punishment is supposed to, it's not supposed to scare people. It's supposed to build character to be like,
Dissuade people.
yeah, it's supposed to discipline people.
Okay.
The intended purpose of it is
Okay.
of the law is to, hey, I shouldn't, steal from that, store, or I'll go to jail for 5 years and not see if you have a family, or hey, I shouldn't rob a bank or do anything. I shouldn't rape. I shouldn't murder.
But guess what? Like, I like that you're saying this because once again, I think it comes down to choice, maybe even punishment.
Yeah.
Is why, like, let's pull it back.
Because if
right?
there's no God, it's the only fear of like just losing what you have, your individual freedom, your vessel.
reward and punishment, right?
Yeah.
You do things under the society because it only matters in the context of society. If you can live in the middle of nowhere without laws, and you literally can do whatever you want because you're not
Say whatever you want.
you're not tied.
The middle of nowhere. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, nobody hears you. If a tree falls in the woods, right?
So in a natural state by itself, or a couple of just whatever, the person that's willing to stand by you will accept, right? And a large group as well. But that doesn't mean that an act. And I think, once again, the punishment and reward, maybe, and this is just another perspective, could be completely wrong, maybe that mechanism that's been going on for hundreds, thousands of years is meant to be like, okay, there are many choices. And down this door, there's this. 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 So that you can learn how to, not what to think, but how to think. And how to think means how to make choices so you can get the best results that you want.
Yeah, I wish we could start telling people how to think again.
Well, guess
We need to
what?
start
Your
doing that.
your parents do. When
They
you're
did.
when you're
I
a
mean-
kid. Follow me with this.
Yeah, I guess so.
Follow me with this.
Yeah,
If they're walking on a trail and they're walking with you,
yeah.
they have to grab you by the hand when you're a child,
yeah.
because guess what? You'd be like, oh, I went around that direction. There's no trail there. There's
That's
water.
why there's leash kids, dude.
yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
But guess what? That's not teaching them choice. It's just saying I am unable to move. Right. So you walk along with a child until they're of age, and then they're like, I don't have to follow you anymore. I can make my own choices.
I
But
think I
wait-
think that's why they called like Nazi Germany like the fatherland, and then there's like the motherland of like the Queen of England or whatever. They call it the motherland. So I think there's more respect to the matriarch. If you want to genderize nationalities or powers and stuff like that, if you gender nationalism, I think it could be more persuasive to a certain sex.
what?
Certain orientation. I don't know where I'm going with this, but what I mean to say is like when you're being like pulled, when your hand is being held by like your mother or your father, and you're like, hey, go that way, or hey, go this way, because there's always
Gender influence?
I think there is a
Okay.
gender influence when it becomes to who tells you how to think.
Yeah.
And that's why there's this big debate on like, oh, should we call people by their pronouns and shit like that. Well, obviously, who the fuck cares? Just exist,
No, I'll give you an example, right? I have no issue
Yeah.
choice. I have no issue calling anybody like by their pronouns that I know.
Yeah.
Just like
I thought you were non-binary when I first met you.
Exactly. Just like I would not,
Maybe
like
it's-
if you want to call me, if I say, hey, I don't go by my first name, I go by my middle name, right?
Yeah.
It would then be your
You're right,
choice to call me however you want, and then it would be my choice to either continue to talk to your associate, right?
Yeah.
In an interpersonal issue, no problem. But once again, choice is my crux, right?
Yeah.
Now, compelling all these other people I don't know to perceive reality differently and tell them you can't think or say these things because this other person's reality conflicts with that. And like that is not restricting choice. That's restricting thought and speech, which is thought voiced out. There is no physical encroachment. You can still separate. And that's what I'm against, right? Like, because, for example, I have gay friends, I'd hope to have trans friends, and maybe I do, maybe I don't. I'd call them by whatever they want to be called that,
Do
and I
you
can
call
still
them by their name.
and by she, by him. And what I'm saying is that two things can be true. I can respect them and call them that in the interpersonal choice and have thoughts. And that doesn't make me their enemy because I disagree on something, because you and we all talked about that.
Yeah.
Only through talking can we get understanding, right? So
Speaking of queer people, I wanted to add on to something that I thought you would find very interesting on this show. Apparently, like a wrestler that's like now like a county commissioner for like Knox County, Tennessee, banned all age drag shows.
All age drag shows? Okay.
Yeah, in Knox County, Tennessee. You can look that up. And apparently
Interesting.
he was a wrestler for WWE, and he used to wear like dresses on like stage when he was like wrestling people and stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
So it wasn't doing it wasn't doing the whole, but like the guy just banned it now, which I found very interesting. I think his name was like Kane or something.
Do you think it's interesting because his reality was WWE was entertainment and he
Yes.
wore dresses?
Yeah.
And this over here, drag brunch, all ages,
Yeah.
is entertainment and they wear dresses.
But it's sexualizing, and then that's
What
a
are
lot
they
of the that's
sexualizing?
what the narrative is to drag.
what are
you
they
know?
sexualizing?
I mean, if
Some-
you ask 100 people on the street in any country
Yeah.
and you ask them, is there a sexual component to drag? I think it's pretty common sense to say that over 51% would probably say yeah.
Okay. And this is coming from
Once again, echo chambers, right? Because within a community, it may seem completely normal, but once again, reality.
Yeah, I watch Drag Race with my girlfriend all the time and things like that. Like
RuPaul, work, cover girl, work good girl.
I understand the art to it, and I understand there's like a lot of like work time and patience when it goes to crafting wigs, the makeup, and some of these men, but they're what is it? They're aliases. I'm gonna say they're aliases, and things like that, and that.
Whatever they choose to identify.
Yeah, whatever they choose to identify, because some of them are not. But it's a plethora of people and identities.
Yeah,
That's a cornucopia, exactly. But this is weird because they put on like fake breasts as well, and they do. So I think this is something that is directed towards adults, and it's more of it's always been a bar thing. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm like, oh, how dare he not have kids with this privilege, but I remember when I was like 12, 11, 10, like I was watching like anime, I was watching like Star Wars, but I was super heteronormative. So if that's wrong of me, then I'm sorry. I wasn't as a kid.
What do you mean wrong?
As a 10-year-old.
Because you weren't going to drag brunch?
Yeah, I didn't want to go to drag brunch.
Okay. Well,
So
I mean, was
that's
drag
just your
brunch
choice.
offered to you?
No, it wasn't.
Theater
was offered to me.
Question.
But the thing is that was your choice.
I guess so. I guess that was my choice.
Maybe. I mean,
I don't think there's any parents that are dragging their kids, but Mom, I don't want to go to drag.
Well,
like, it's
question.
temple.
Do you not think, or is it, once again, hope, maybe, or possibility?
Okay.
Is it possible?
Is it possible that I wanted to go to drag brunch?
No. Is it possible that parents are taking their children?
Maybe. That's what I'm thinking. There's a possible, and I feel bad for those kids. But if it's not, if their kids are like, Mom, please take me to drag, and they love it, then fine. I feel like it should be a lot obvious.
Let me posit you a scenario.
Is it weird? Yes, but still.
Let me use the way that you're thinking about it. You yourself in a previous episode said that maybe you were exposed to too much porn, which has a sexual nature.
Yes.
And that allowed you to go down a particular route.
Yes. I don't think it's necessarily sexual, like they're not putting like breasts in a kid. They're just giving them money and they're dancing. Most of the drag shows I've been to.
Can dancing be sexual?
Yes, but they're not doing sex acts.
Okay, who draws that line?
Okay, so
that's what I'm asking. Listen,
Okay.
there's no wrong answers.
I don't want. I know this sounds very weird. I'm trying to get blackballed for anything I say. My
Listen,
views
we're
are
not
totally-
trying to
do that or
Listen,
anything.
once again, I have no disagreement, and I'm mostly in agreement with everything that you say, right? But there's a reason why the new union is not being able to talk to ourselves, right? And what do we say at the beginning? What is reality, and how we can ensure that we're sure of it, that we're living the same one. And I posit to you a challenge. We have to consider the potential that we're compromised, that we're not seeing the whole picture. Yeah. Because go ahead. And that's why. And
it's not saying we're painting all drag shows, by the way.
No.
It's just saying it's more of an adult thing. Like, I don't know.
So do you agree with that, Law? That you think that we should ban drag shows for all ages?
I don't really care. It's not a pressing thing to me.
Exactly. You can't do anything about
Yeah,
it.
Well,
I don't care.
Exactly.
Like, if they vote for that, I guess I'll vote. Like, if queer people straight up say, Harrison, don't vote for this. Like, this is how we make our living or whatever. Then I'll be like, sure. Like, I want you guys to entertain parties. You guys are like, I don't know.
I'll post it to you guys like this. I've always taken my son to Pride parades, always, since he was really little.
I've been too.
It's an incredibly family-friendly event, and I don't know, since more things have been happening, like the drag brunches and all ages and all that kind of stuff. I actually kind of was thinking to myself, what would I have done if I had taken my son to gay pride and there had been something that I thought was so explicit that I couldn't take him to pride anymore?
It's like watching a rated R movie. That's how I think of it as, or rated X movie, whatever.
I agree, but if you bill something as a family friendly event, which it always was, and I always had a great time at Pride, and we've always had a wonderful. I've heard of other situations where things don't go as well, but I've always had a really positive experience. But what I'm saying is if it's billed as a family friendly event, and I decide not to take my child there, then that's my decision not to take my kid. And it's everybody else's decision to take their kids. So
it doesn't make you intolerant.
It doesn't make me intolerant. It just makes me, I've made whatever decision. I drew a line for myself, and it's my reality that I live in. And by the way, I'm not.
And there's no wrong way to live your reality.
But what I'm saying is that whatever reason I did it, whether I'm the person who takes their kid to gay pride or doesn't, it's my decision to do so. And I don't really understand why I would need a law to tell me whether or not,
Exactly.
I
Exactly. I didn't know this was such a pressing issue, and
that's a really good question. Yeah. How is it such a pressing issue that
it is something that just came up on my feed, and people are like upset, and then people are like, "Oh yeah, they finally do." Like this is a big problem. Like I didn't think this was a big problem. Yeah, I put myself in the perspective of a kid. Like, Mom, I really don't want to go, and he's like, "But we need to see Miss Cracker do twirls." Like, you know what I mean? That I find funny.
I'd posit you a different reasoning. I'd posit, and this is what I'm saying: lateral thinking.
Yeah.
I could see a mom that really has nothing to do but draws a great pride from the social causes that she follows.
Yeah.
And is always saying like acceptance and
It could be a dad.
or a dad, right?
Yeah.
Or they're the caregiver of the child.
Yeah.
And in the purpose, in their point of view, being inclusive, being open.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're like, okay, well, therein lies the individual choice, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to cut you off.
No. I mean, I feel like you have something to say, so get it out so I can get the thought out.
I'm glad I brought this up because I don't want like society. I don't want individuals to perceive homosexuality as disgusting or as what's the word, like sexual deviancy.
Okay.
Because you can have a loving, a passionate relationship with like a person monogamously. Or polygamously, but like monogamous, you know what I mean? Like, as just two individuals that love each other, like that. Like, there's nothing like wrong with that. I do think it's wrong to be polyamorous, but that is a whole other conversation we can have. And only because STDs come, it's like it's a sex.
Well, we can talk about that later.
Yeah, it's a sex cult at one point, and things can happen. But homosexual as a whole shouldn't be blackballed to kids. You know what I mean?
So do you think that that's what it's doing when he draws that line, when he makes that law? Is he saying homosexuality is wrong?
I think he might be.
What's the difference between blackballed?
Because it's a culture. It's just. Excuse me.
What's the difference between blackballed and promoted?
The difference between blackballed and promoted is people have positive reviews. You can blackball a restaurant on Yelp and give it 1 star, or then the next person could be like, "This was amazing. Everyone needs to go here."
Yeah,
5 stars.
and while I agree that homosexuality should not be blackballed to children, do you think that homosexuality should be promoted to children?
It depends on what age and stuff like that, but like, I want them to know that it's okay to like a boy instead of a girl or a girl instead of a boy at a certain age. But that you just have to be two consenting beings, but then you also have to be legal to like have a sexual relationship and things like that when it comes into law. I don't condone any underage sexual activity. I do not. So
age appropriate sex talks.
Age appropriate sex talks, exactly.
And I think that therein lies that divide, right? So this is where I come with drawing the line and seeing that we compromise, because one side sees as blackball, be like, okay, but it seems like it's being promoted. And once again, I'm not agreeing with that, right? But the argument could be like, hey, we just don't want it promoted. And the other side is like, we just don't want it blackballed. And this is the issue with lines. It's very difficult to draw lines right now because we're not in agreement, whereas we were before, right? Yeah. So it's tough. Like I said, we're not going to answer this question, this podcast.
Well, I think there's a lot what the right wing does is they over sexualize things. Like I remember Tucker Carlson was like really mad about the green M&M. Like they took that away from us. Can you see what they did? Yeah.
Why did they take away the green M&M?
Apparently, the green M&M was too sexy.
Is that true?
It was sexy. I know they gave it shoes and no eyelashes.
They left the green M&M. They didn't take her away. They just they downplayed her.
Yeah. They
sex appeal.
Yeah, they.
It's like the opposite of what they did with the She-Hulk.
Yeah,
they made her go from they made her extra sexualized when she became She-Hulk.
Yeah. Anyone watch the? I don't watch Marvel movies. I'm an adult man, so.
We tried to watch.
You tried, okay.
Huh?
You did. And I hate how people are like, Disney's run by the Jews or Disney controlled by the... Disney hated the Jews, but Disney, I never understood the appeal.
I always knew it was for...
I always understood... Disney? I liked a couple movies, obviously, but I think it's hit or miss.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like...
You're not a Disney, But what about Star Wars and
of
everything
course.
under the Disney umbrella?
Soul was really good. Was that Pixar?
That's Disney Pixar.
Okay, Disney Pixar, same thing. Okay, there's some really good ones, but like they're just so powerful. So I expect so much out of them filmmaking wise.
gotcha.
You know what I mean?
The bar has been set too high for you.
Yeah, the bar has been set too high,
had
and when you
so
give me
little.
She-Hulk,
She-Hulk was
I have
was
some-
objectively bad. It's
Yeah.
okay.
yeah. I mean, Wonder Woman was IDF propaganda, but that's fine.
I agree.
Let me show you something.
I'm not joking because honestly it was hard to watch.
I know you're not.
So, and here everyone is. So this is what the other side might see, right? Like this is an 11-year-old
Giving
doing
money?
a drag show
What's
for 11-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
So
Specifically for
once again,
11-year-olds?
I'm not saying whether I agree or disagree with it. I'm just asking the question.
Is she giving money to the
To
little
11-year-old,
girl?
Yeah.
So was this a drag show that was specifically featuring only 11-year-olds
Yeah.
or just one
Yeah,
11-year-old?
it's kind of like 11-year-old.
Because I read that article and the young person
Okay.
who participates in
I
it.
think little boys, if they want to wear makeup, they can. I don't believe they should be on hormones, but that should be a legal scientific thing.
And I'm not. And once again, I'm not talking whether you agree with it or not, because that's not the issue.
That's
at
not the
play.
question, yeah.
That's not the question.
Yeah.
The question is, can you see a reality where somebody sees that and doesn't agree with it, and as such, could then see why they wouldn't want somebody that does agree with it drawing lines about it?
Look, I believe like you can't force men to be masculine. You can't force women to be feminine. Okay?
Yeah.
You can barely force people to exist.
But what about children? Are children different than fully grown adults?
Yes, because they are very impressionable.
Word. It's so
Agreed.
true.
So they can be forced to do some things.
They can be, and you can say it's a game or something, and that's what pedophiles.
Right,
do.
and-
I
and-
shouldn't have said that word because they can get
No,
demonetized.
well, I'll believe it. But therein lies. So if children can be,
Yeah.
then can you see the reality where there's some people, none in this room, that look at that and they're like, I don't agree with the lines being drawn like around what might shield
Would
what
your
is
mother
family.
have agreed with it?
Probably, but I don't think I'd be like shaking it. I wasn't that type of kid though. It depends
Yeah.
on the kid too. Like,
But
I
if
was-
kids are impressionable,
yeah,
it also depends what they're exposed to.
yeah. Like what it honestly like if my, I was also probably I had I'm not saying my parents did anything like I don't want to judge their parenting skills, but I loved Borat. I saw it I saw it like 14 or 15, so I'm probably way too young, but it probably sparked my love for comedy and love for satire. So I think
It's a
there's
good
something
movie. I like
that
it.
was good that came out of it.
Okay.
Like I understand the power of shock humor and things like that. But where am I going with this? Of course, you're not always your parents should draw boundaries. And then you should find it out and you should experiment when you're of age and you're older. That's how we have decided as citizens. Like you have to raise your kid, put in whatever type of school. You can homeschool them, which is weird, but you can still do it. It's legal, but you need to give them some level of social skills. And
Now,
some
would you
level of
say is that from
structure.
your point of view? 'Cause
Yeah, this homeschooling
you were
is
not
weird.
homeschooled?
Yes, yeah, it's too many. But there's some cool homeschool kids that I met, and like the girl I dated was homeschooled.
What would you say is the biggest issue with homeschooled?
Homeschooling kid. She was very fast, but I didn't do anything with her. But she was very. She was very, very fast. She was like, "Do you want to go back to my?" And I had no car at the time, so.
So
I was
homeschool
you're
girls
like,
are
"Oh,
boys.
the
like you're
ride's a
not gonna
ride."
pick me up. Like it's not gonna work. It's not like I knew like nothing was gonna happen.
I see. Okay.
Does that make sense? So there's with like super helicopter parents, there could be like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like being coming out of religion and then being like super like over sexual because you're
I see.
or wanting intimacy and things like that because you've been so repressed. So it's like a shaking up soda bottle, you know?
Are your parents, left of center, right of center? If you had to describe.
Ooh, this is a very weird question. Because you know what, my mom was very right winged. I'll just say that my
No.
mom was very right winged. My dad is pretty leftist, kind of libertarian.
I'm gonna bleep this all out.
No.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to bleep all this.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna bleep it out. But fuck,
That's so sad.
yeah, it's unfortunate. It's
We'll
unfortunate.
continue, Arturo. You're
Fuck.
telling a story.
I was. What was the story?
I don't know.
Dude, I'm always a short king activist, dude. I really am.
Are
Oh,
you?
okay. Here we.
Yeah.
I remember now. So
Talk about this later.
I remember now. Listen, the thing is that you can't worry about the things that you can control, and height is one of them. You know, like dick size, shoe size, whatever. You know, like it makes no sense to worry about.
Can you get surgery to get your dick bigger?
Listen,
I'm pretty sure you can.
all you can
That's what
do-
I'm investing my
But
money in.
still, but the point is,
Yeah,
you can't.
you can.
sorry.
There's
playing the
some
Powerball.
things
You
that
got to play to
can't
your
change.
strengths. That's
Yeah.
all of any of us can do, right? And crap.
Absolutely.
Okay, so and with the argument that we were putting earlier, that the conditions like, let's make sure that we audit ourselves, check ourselves, right? Do you think it's potential? Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna remember. Andy pointed out something that it was a blind spot to me. That part of the way that I communicate and my intensity in something is actually could potentially be part of cultural from a place of where I come. And I hadn't thought about diversity in that diameter. We all have blind spots, right? So is it possible
It is
that
possible.
some of the potential like views, like especially the very progressive thing about like, okay, things should be this way,
Okay.
could be influenced, one, obviously by community, right? We're in a very like progressive, and also the rejection of what you experienced as a child from your parents. The rebelling against them.
Kind of like,
There's a double-sided. There's two sides to that coin.
Yeah.
So obviously you can't spite exist. You know what I mean?
Can what?
I think you can actually, if you have like a serious amount of depression where you're like, oh, I hate God so much, I'm gonna continue living. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you could go that way, which is kind of
Spiteful.
hilarious, but I don't know. To have your existence being spiteful or being repressed so much by a family, it's very detrimental to do things out of spite of people.
Let's not
It's
even
just
say spite. It's an action reaction.
rebellion.
Right?
Yeah, but it is a common reaction. You just have to recognize that reaction sooner rather than later.
so being self-aware.
That is very important.
It's hard.
Teenagers cannot be self-aware.
That is very.
I'd argue almost nobody can be self-aware.
Almost nobody can, but especially not hormonal teenagers.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when I started. I was such a tool. So mean to people, and I thought I was the cool. You think they're the coolest guy in the room. You really
Yeah.
do.
But you don't feel like that anymore because
He's
you're
a-
older and you have some
He's a baller, baby.
You think I
self-actualization.
still think? I don't know. I think I'm.
Did you say?
I think I know I'm not on cool guy time. Me and my buddy Ari, we were on the phone the other day, and it was like you can tell, like a couple people, like he's been out of some open mics. He's like, yeah, you can tell he's on cool guy time, like some
Cool guy
how a guy dresses or whatever, or like how a guy like acts on stage, or there's like a certain
Very
bravado.
concerned about himself.
Yeah. Where there's like the hyper masculinity, how he like presents himself, carries himself, but is very when he texts a woman or can't when he's in a sort of social atmosphere
I
where he
see.
cracks down. And I think I had that too, especially when I was consuming a lot of pornography, because I would even if this doesn't work out with this woman right here that I could be really interested in, I can go back home and take care of myself.
It's an out.
So yeah, it is an out for a lot of men, and that's why I like your. You know what? I actually do. You know what? I'm going back. Is not an acquaintance. He has moved over to friend. Okay, because it is. I'm gonna say why. Okay,
Okay,
I'm gonna
let's
say
hear
why.
it.
Because it's like a necessary evil to have someone like in your life that is just a heaping pile of toxicity. That says, bro, don't text her back, or like, dude, do look on her phone and say what's up to Pizza Hut. You know what I mean? On her phone.
What?
Because that's like a contact. So sometimes there's a joke to people who cheat. Whenever they save their name on their phone, they don't save it as their name. They save it as like Pizza Hut or Domino's
Pizza Hut.
or whatever.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
like, why is Pizza Hut texting you at 3 a.m.?
So
I got you a pizza, baby.
What happened? Tell me.
Well, tell
me where you got this perception, case.
I follow. I follow. Shout out. I follow an Instagram meme page called Hoodville. I highly recommend you do it.
Goodville. I'm gonna download it. But the funny thing is, like, she recognized our friend before I did, right?
Yeah.
And so she already had a preconceived notion. And guess what? Her notion was so much closer, or even worse than whatever you said to me before. Like right after we had the podcast, I'm like, listen, just because I can I respect people that live their life authentically, especially if it seems like they believe what they're saying.
Look, I believe that,
Even if I disagree with them.
Yeah, I believe like you shouldn't like disrespect. Like you need to respect yourself, and then I know this sounds weird. Respect yourself, and then a woman you're interested in, or what or a woman that like is just in your atmosphere. But you gotta respect. You gotta
according
respect
to
yourself.
whose rules? Where's this line? Who's drawing this line?
Who's drawing this line right now? I would say it is me to an extent, but I want to say this because this is I was a guy who
and you're right for you, by the way. You're right.
Okay,
for
yeah.
Harrison.
Andy, I want to see if you agree with me for a second, okay?
That's fair.
Sometimes, there's a lot of guys in this world that are like trying to come and they're trying to be your answer, right? They want to solve whatever it is. If he solves what your answers are or whatever, or man, I know you don't expect that, but there is a part of being like a woman that a man wants to save. There is.
You think?
There in every man.
Is
yes.
that a man's perspective?
Most men. Most men
Captain
do.
Save a Hoe, huh?
There is that.
You're
There is a
white
little
knighting?
bit. There is that. I'm not
All
white
right.
knighting here, but that
Okay.
is a narrative, if you will.
Sure,
a
that's
narrative.
one
That's a
thing, that
narrative.
one way.
I like where we're going with this, but I think most men, or not most men, some men need to stand out. Some men need to just be a problem.
Okay. What does that mean?
Is standing out a problem or
no,
standing
no,
out
no.
negatively?
Because they don't want to take care of me?
Because like a guy will be like, oh, I want your number, I want this or that, and then like sometimes being aloof or playing it cool. Like not a lot of guys like know how to play it cool, not be needy or whatever. And I think this is weird because I was also in sales. I kind of know a little bit about not being needy or like, oh, I really need the commission or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Quick question: How do you think that being a tall white guy plays into your ability to play aloof into that and that working for you?
My girl's a lot. She's always worried every time I go out to like functions or when I go to conferences. I'm a very loyal guy.
Yeah,
I am. I don't. I know the value I have and the woman that I have, and I feel like I don't say it enough on podcast. I love my girlfriend, and I would like name. I don't think I get blackballed her or whatever. I'll just call her Caitlin. I love you, Caitlin. If she's watching,
Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner. We have
Caitlyn
a famous.
Jenner. No.
Shut.
But yeah, I
bet
really,
she's lovely. Lucky girl.
Anyone would be lucky to meet her. Okay, but she's very. I think. I'm the more social one out of us, and we talk about that all the time. And he's
Well,
like,
you should bring her by. Maybe she'd like to be on the podcast. We don't.
She would be a great podcast
Would
guest.
she?
I've tried to get her on my podcast, and
Maybe
she's
I-
always like, edit, delete it. And I'm like, okay, I can't.
Well,
I
maybe
can't.
we'll invite her. Maybe she'll
Yeah.
come by. We'll have a couple of beers.
She's actually been on a podcast I did way back in the day with like a bunch of other friends. So
We'll have to
she's
check her
great.
out.
She's great in like, I know this sounds weird, group podcast. Individual, like I think she just doesn't like to be interviewed. She's a very private person. I think I respect that about her a lot.
That's great.
I think group podcasts are great. I mean, and that's why we love doing it together
Yeah.
and like with a third person. Because when we did our podcast together, it's great. But like the dynamic with three or more people,
Yeah.
kind of when you were here with Freddie.
I like being next to someone too because I get to riff a little bit, and I guess I'm getting a lot of questions. So I feel like when I was here like the other day or whatever, I felt like I was like on a hot lamp grilled, and I was just thinking in my own mind, which is fine, but
It was fun.
I don't think it's like, I don't know, it's not organic, or it's like it just it's almost an interrogation, but I at least want to make it funny.
The thing is like
That's not the intent. That's hilarious, though.
that's
Thank
funny. You know, like the thing is like I could see your point. I apologize. Know that it's all positive, and the reason
yeah.
why like.
I signed up for this. I know what I
Listen,
We're very direct people.
Listen,
Yeah.
out of all the comics that I've met that are your age, I find you like much more advanced. I told you like thank your parents. You have a good head on your shoulders. You're still your age, so that's fine. You know, there's a lot of the journey is the destination.
I know this sounds fucked up. I hope younger comics, at least in the area, fucking worship me. I know that sounds fucking.
No, you should totally. Yeah.
I hope so. I know a couple of them.
He's helping add to your mystique.
I know a couple of them, and they're nice enough. But if they ever get like, I kind of want to be like, remember where you can. I put you on a shitty podcast in Raleigh, North Carolina.
You did.
Yeah,
yes.
like let's not let's
Bow down.
yeah let's not.
Speaking of,
You're like the new Kanye.
Some people. I know this sounds weird. It's self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of like
On
checking
whose
yourself.
part?
Both people.
But just know
both
that,
mentally ill, deranged animals.
That's right.
listen, like just know that we really appreciate you, and I know these questions are hard, and I said at the top, there are no answers to these questions because otherwise we wouldn't be running into this issue.
How long have you been running for, Arturo?
Huh?
How long have you been running for?
Now we're in 30 live. Probably we can probably wrap it up here soon.
Okay, yeah.
But I have a question for you. Since you're in, this is Casa the Thinking, right? And if we keep this on, thank you, Harrison.
Thank you for having me.
Question for you: if you recorded a podcast, like I told you last time when we recorded, I'm like, tell me if there's anything that you want out. I'll edit it out.
Okay.
And then once I post it, I'll cut anything that you see. Then
thank you, appreciate it.
Those are the rules with any podcast that we do here, right?
Can we talk shit about the person that you? I know exactly what it is.
That's what we're about to do.
Okay.
That's the question because
I know exactly what it is. I feel really bad.
If it's and then we're gonna wrap with that, and then we'll talk about it more off air. But if you have your podcast, let's say JewAnon, and then somebody that's like not contributed, like that's just a guest on it, and you're like, okay, give them the rules like I just gave you, and then at the end you said, well, what do you? You said, well, what do you want me to cut out? They're like, oh, is it okay if I sit here and edit it with you? That way I can see what parts I want in or out. How would you react to that?
Dude, fucking.
And then,
my God.
And then if you disagreed with that, and then they're like, oh, how about I just give you $100 if you just delete it?
Keep in mind we had another guest coming in 30 minutes. Like,
all right. It sounds very pretentious.
This has been.
This is very
Casa
pretentious.
Thinking.
I'm very glad, but this is very pretentious. But this is fucking true. Okay, and I can swear, and I'm trying not to swear. It's given a little bit of passion, but what I mean to say is, podcasting is an art. If you answer the right questions, stay on the right topics, add some funny to it, and a little bit of informational stuff, and a little bit of good topical. I don't know. Yeah, tidbits. Topical tidbits. Anyways, if somebody in that whole scenario, if they did that, I would just say, take the SD card, get out. I never want to see your face again. I would get everything off that SD card and be like, I'm taking the $100. You can get the SD card. Because that SD card was probably worth like, I don't know, fucking 20.
What if you didn't care? What if you didn't care? What if you didn't care about the money?
If I didn't care about the money, you know what? I should be. You're a better podcaster, host, media distribute than I'll ever. You have. He has more of a moral high ground. I think so. I really do, and I'm not trying to kiss your ass.
I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't say he necessarily has moral high ground, but I would argue also though, where does JewAnon and Arturo draw the line on rudeness? Maybe that's not where you think.
True. Yeah. No, I've worked in customer service for a very long time.
You're like, I'm used to rude
so
people.
I'm used to just sociopaths, assholes, and I know I can't go low, but I know I can go lower. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I know this is so fucked up. There's evil in all of us. This is very true. There's evil in all of us. It's just how we cope with it. It's just how we handle it and balance it, because we're all evil. We're all able to do what Dahmer did.
That's a very First Testament thing to say.
Yeah. We're all able, but we have to believe in a higher being, or we have to believe that there's consequences for our actions.
For us, Jesus came and got rid of that evil when we
Jesus
were
did
born.
not. Okay.
Just kidding.
Well, but I'm curious though, because that's so interesting. Because you think that the only. Not you think. I didn't mean to put words in your mouth. I apologize. Are you saying that the two reasons that people wouldn't do something like Dahmer stuff is if the threat of criminal punishment or God?
Criminal punishment and God. That is a good question.
Because there's always the argument that is there morality without God? You know.
I would like there to be. I do. I think I do in my heart. I really do. Like I don't know, this sounds weird, but there's like a homeless guy near my area. I think we've talked about this before, but I remember giving this dude shampoo and stuff like that. And I was like,
Did he take it?
yeah. And I was like, people give you money all the time, man, but I know this is important for you to have.
Okay.
You say sanitary, you say clean. I was like, thanks, man. And then he was there with like a woman too. So it goes to show you can be homeless you can find love and have nothing.
Okay.
Yes.
So remember that, people. Okay, remember that incels, whatever. Like you can lose
really on
everything.
Those incels, huh?
I want this to be. We need to make an incel only podcast.
Yeah, and you need to be able to communicate with other people because to the argument that you made earlier, Andy, if you see somebody that comes like let's say just use a lot of cuss words or whatever, you can choose to don't talk to me in cuss words or I'm not gonna talk to you. That stops the conversation. Or you could be like, oh, I am going to look at it from their perspective. Maybe they...
Could you swear a little less? And I was like, you're right. I'm very sorry.
But let's say they can. Maybe that's just natural to them, right? Does that mean that I'm not going to have a conversation with this person? Because maybe it's not how they're saying it, but what they're saying. I think in our current society, and that's why we're not living in reality, we're not even allowing ourselves to have the conversation because people are not communicating the way that we like.
Yeah, and I think that's what like a lot of and that's what a lot of media is like trying to be the ruler of that, and like an open like a local open mic host is. That's what all this is. It's very low level gatekeeping.
Yeah,
and I could give a rat's ass about it. So I just want to carry myself with good character and also like the comics that I do and keep them in my circle and things like that. I know very talented people.
Yeah,
and I know people
I can tell just from the way you've been talking about what comic.
Yeah, I know people that can work harder, definitely.
Yeah.
So whether that's writing jokes, being more personal on stage and things like that, and I've had my share of bad sets, obviously. Yeah, you get my drift.
Do you know what? I don't think I've actually ever seen one of your sets.
They're on YouTube.
We should put one on.
You just like you can go watch them on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're not going to invite me to one of your shows.
You can invite me to one. You can come to one of my shows.
Okay.
I gotta actually write 15 minutes. I'm at 5.
Hey, listen. Last time you wanted to go to fucking the Halloween store with him and his girlfriend. Now you want him to invite to shows.
Yeah,
like, listen.
she's very trying to live vicariously through.
Listen, I took her to that.
I don't like
I
it.
want to be a tall white
I took her
man.
to that store and she
A
hated
tall
it.
white Jew.
That's the show.
This is what I want to do. I'm
Thank
just
you for
going to follow
having me.
you
Check out
around and
JewAnon
take
on all
notes.
platforms. Thank you.